If you take a look at the U.S. equities, clearly the fears of a U.S. government shutdown continue to bog down equity markets. There you go, another 0.2% gone for NASDAQ. The Dow losing down about a triple-digit cut actually coming in there. And that was the case with the S&P as well, with a near about 0.7% cut. Robert Aspen, Head of Equity Investment Strategy at Standard Chartered, joins us on the show right now. Robert, hi, morning. How deep are the concerns of a U.S. government shutdown? And do you not think that by now everything is already absorbed by the stock price? How much more downside could we see for the equities from here?
Hi, good morning. I think the risk of a government closure has obviously increased significantly given the fact that we don't have many hours before the deadline looms. And we've actually just circulated a note to our clients on that, indicating that we do anticipate that the volatility around the equity markets will increase quite substantially, possibly over the next few days. But there is one worth thing that is very key to highlight here, and that's the fact that we continue to expect the slowdown to be relatively short-lived. And if you look at history, for example, the government has actually closed around 17 times since 1976. So it's a fairly regular occurrence, and the average typical period is something from a couple of days up to 2 weeks. So we don't think this is going to be a long-lived thing. And I think the focus is obviously going to be then on the debt ceiling issue, because if the Democrats and the Republicans play hardball on this, then the debt ceiling will become the big issue.
Robert, so do you think the short-term politics in U.S. could have an impact on U.S. economic growth?
Well, it does have a small impact in terms of the deficit and also growth. A government shutdown is clearly not a good thing to go through, and it would be a surprise to me if they actually do close on the back of this, given how fragile the global economy still is. We are still in the process of healing the U.S. economy, and the housing market has improved, but it's very important that that is sustained. And yes, there is a cost to this. If you look at the situation in the 1990s when the government closed down, a number of the projects were effectively stalled and then had to be restarted, and that created an additional cost of around $2 billion, which fed into the deficit. So, yes, there is a cost involved, but hopefully it will be fairly short-lived.
Robert, if your view is that the near-term U.S. economic growth is going to be tenuous, do you think emerging market watchers should be reasonably assured that Fed will not tighten and they will not taper?
Well, I think the Fed will obviously and has taken the view to hold back on their tapering on the near term. There is talk of doing that now in December. Effectively, there has to be at some point in time a degree of tapering. At the moment, the Fed is pumping around $85 billion worth of new money into the economy, and that has an impact in terms of, obviously, loan rates and so forth. And the Fed is cognizant that they don't want to create any new bubbles anywhere in the global economy. So there is the view that as the economy gets on a path of sustainable growth, that they will start to taper. And we do take the view that they will start to taper most likely later this year or very early next. The size of tapering will be very small. And yes, you're correct. If there is a degree of slowdown in the global economy or in the U.S. economy and the job data doesn't come in quite as well as the Fed currently expects, then the Fed will probably push tapering further out. So I think the Fed is very focused on the underlying data.
Robert, so what could be the impact on U.S. as well as global equities if there were a shutdown for, say, 1 to 2 days?
Well, I think it would be fairly small, to be quite honest. And if you look at the performance yesterday, the market was only down marginally in the U.S. So the markets are actually proving fairly resilient to all of this negative news. I think the market will start to focus, however, on the debt ceiling discussions, which are coming up later in the month. And clearly, if, as I was saying earlier, the two parties are going to play a hardball on this, then the issue of the debt ceiling is probably going to gain a lot more attention, given the fact that that will also be pushed out to the last minute. I think the key thing, though, is that neither party will want to create an environment which causes the U.S. economy to slow. Their focus on both sides is to keep the U.S. economy growing and to ensure that job growth is maintained. And that, I think, will be, I would imagine, a key focus of both the Democrats, obviously, and the Republicans.
Well, Robert, appreciate your time and thank you for joining us.